Good morning. First of all, very warm welcome to today our online version of the Info Day for the call of 2022. Our first call under the new clean hydrogen partnership, I have to say, because we started the new partnership on the 1st of December last year. So this is our first call, and what kind of a call? It's the biggest one in the history of the joint undertaking. It's 300.5 million euro, 41 topics, and it's probably, I'm not sure, but I guess it's the biggest one ever on this planet, dedicated to hydrogen, and this all for during 1 year. We can see that there's a lot of interest because today there are, I think, around 1,200 participants subscribed to this Info Day. So it shows the large interest, and of course we are hoping to receive fantastic proposals and great proposals. So today my team will explain, of course, all the rules, the do's, the don'ts, best practices as well, and of course they will explain all the topics in a very large detail. So you will have then also the opportunity to make questions, to ask questions to my team, and I would definitely recommend you please ask questions. It's very, very important, because it would be really a pity if you would miss this opportunity. And I would like also now use this opportunity to thank my team for their effort to set up this Info Day, but also for all the preparatory work to prepare the topics, etc. Also, I would like to thank, of course, our partners. We have 3 partners. We have the industry, we have the research. So the industry is Hydrogen Europe, the research is Hydrogen Europe Research, and also we have the European Commission. And today, also, we will have in a minute our chair, which is René Schutte from Gazini. He's chairing our governing board. And also after that, we will have Rosalinde van der Vlies. She is the director in DG RTD for the Directorate of Clean Planet, and she's a very strong supporter of our joint undertaking and also pushing us every single day to get the best out of this partnership. So I will ask both to also take the floor, of course welcome you, and give a bit their view why this is so important, and also the expectations that they have towards all the participants, towards the projects, because at the end we want to have a lot of impact. We would like to move very fast in this with the hydrogen and a fuel cell sector. I mean, it's clear that also recently we need to decarbonize, but also we need to be more energy independent, and this urgency you will see that we have to that we will have to accelerate this the research and the innovation. Rosalinde, you here? Okay, great. That's solved. I'm sorry for this hiccup. Even after so long, we still have sometimes some issues, but great to have you here. And yeah, I give you the floor. And I think our participants are looking forward to hear your expectations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bart, and good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure for me to be here today with you on this very important Info Day 2022 for the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. And I would actually like to start by congratulating you, because the fact that you are with us this morning means that you have a very keen interest in helping Europe to become a very good functioning hydrogen economy. And this is really more needed than ever if we want to really become our first climate neutral continent by 2050, which is a very clear objective for the European Union. And let me start by saying that research and innovation will, of course, play a crucial role in making Europe the first climate neutral continent, in supporting the clean energy transitions, and hydrogen will really be a key role in this transition. Of course, the current situation in Ukraine has made the clean energy transition even more urgent. And the Commission published on the 8th of March a new communication called V-Power EU, where we want to go to a secure and affordable and sustainable energy system for the European Union, where we also will become independent from imports from Russia. And it's very clear that in this new strategy, hydrogen will play a very important and key role. In this context, the activities of the joint undertaking are more relevant and more important than ever. And Frans Timmermans has called hydrogen the rock star of the energy transition. And I really think that we will see much more focus on hydrogen also in the weeks and months to come. To achieve this, we really need to work together very, very closely. And the Commission is working together and trying to connect the dots, not only with the industry through the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking, but also together with the member states. We are working on a joint strategic research and innovation agenda for hydrogen. We've also set up a hydrogen alliance where we are working with the industry to develop a pipeline of investments to really accelerate the scaling up and the deployment of the hydrogen solutions. And we are also working at the global level. The Commission is co-leading the hydrogen mission of Mission Innovation, which has the objective to make hydrogen cost competitive by 2030 and also to have at least 100 hydrogen valleys in the world. But now back to the joint undertaking, the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking, which is really an essential element in this bigger picture. And I'm very pleased that also from the Commission side, we have made available 1 billion euros for the next programming period in order to invest in the right solutions across the hydrogen value chain. I'm really confident that the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking will be a very, very big success. And of course, we are not starting from scratch. Thanks to the predecessors of the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking, we have already many success stories to tell, and the European Union is really also a leader in, for example, the electrolysis technologies. So I'm convinced that with the future activities of the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking, we will be able to continue this European leadership and strengthen the competitiveness of the European Union in the hydrogen economy. Now, looking at the topics, and you will learn much more about them in detail today for the first work program in 2022, I can only conclude that we have put the bar extremely high. And I think we can all be very proud of what we have achieved by identifying the topics for the calls, because I believe that these topics that will be open for your participation will really accelerate the clean hydrogen economy at a very, very big speed. And this is exactly what we need. And the beauty of the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking topics is that we are covering the entire value chain. So starting from improving the production and production processes of hydrogen, stimulating the creation of even more hydrogen valleys, which are crucial to showcase that the hydrogen economy can work, and starting to showcasing this at a local or a dedicated geographical area. Also investing in the distribution and storage with clear benefits for people to make hydrogen already powerhouses and reduce energy costs. And also increasing hydrogen solutions for transport. And a very clear example also is that the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking will make a very clear contribution, for example, for aviation, for waterborne transport, and also for trucks. Lastly, it is also very, very important that the joint undertaking is also looking at more horizontal issues, such as circularity, which is also very important for the strategic independence of the European Union, in particular on materials. So to conclude, I would like to stress again that we can only achieve a well-functioning and competitive hydrogen economy for the European Union if we all join forces and we all work together. All of us together are in Team Hydrogen for Europe. And I'm very, very convinced that by working together, we can achieve this. I also, again, would like to congratulate and thank you for being here this morning, because we need to roll out the hydrogen economy across the whole value chain, and we need you. So please get yourselves informed, get involved, and let's make this a big success story for the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosalinda, for these kind words. And now I would like to hand over the word to René, as the chair of the governing board. René, I heard that you are online. Great.
Thank you very much, Bart. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. I'm honored to speak to you today as the chair of the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. Europe has developed a leading role in hydrogen over the past decade. Europe is spearheading the global hydrogen economy. And this leadership position couldn't have been achieved without the close cooperation between public and private partners, and also with all of you that have already participated in the various projects and topics we've had at hand. The two fuel cell and hydrogen joint undertakings are a perfect example of this. These partnerships have boosted the research and innovation accomplishments over the past 14 years by more than doubling public funds and by private investments in the development of hydrogen technologies, building demonstration projects in cooperation on standard norms and law and regulation. And this success is continued today with the new partnership, the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. In this partnership, we can further build on hydrogen technology to scale up the hydrogen ecosystems to achieve the climate goals. We thank the EU for its renewed trust in the hydrogen ecosystem. And we, as industry and research, understand our responsibility and hereby reaffirm our commitment to making the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking a success together with our partners from the European Commission. The call 2022 is the first call of the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. It is our pleasure today to introduce its strategic priorities and ambition. On the 8th of March, while the EC presented its REU Power Plan, President Ursula von der Leyen said, "The quicker we switch to renewables and hydrogen, combined with more energy efficiency, the quicker we will be truly independent and master our energy system." Executive Vice President Frans Timmermans said, "It is time we tackle our vulnerabilities and rapidly become more independent in our energy choices. Let's dash into the renewable energy at lightning speed. Renewables are a cheap, clean, and potentially endless source of energy, and instead of funding the fossil industry elsewhere, they create jobs here." Repower EU is based on two pillars, one of which is the development of large volumes of biomethane and renewable hydrogen production and imports. In the context of the EU hydrogen strategy, the recent REU Power EU plan has hydrogen accelerator. We believe the proposed topics are relevantly and impactfully addressing the ambition for the EU to become more sustainable and more energy resilient. Europe has developed a leading role in hydrogen over the last decade, and this can be pursued and even accelerated. We need to act fast, as the Hydrogen Accelerator presented will develop integrated infrastructure, including storage facilities and ports, providing access to affordable renewable hydrogen from diverse sources to replace natural gas. We are talking about million tons range. This is a very strong signal for our hydrogen research and development communities. And within this context, the call 2022 will be presented to you today takes a geopolitical dimension. Technologies need to be here, ready and safe to use. Topics this year will address issues ranging from low TRL activities to reduce, if not remove, critical raw materials in our technologies, all the way to the development of fully integrated ecosystems, with many innovative actions to further integrate renewable hydrogen into our energy and feedstock systems. As you will see, there is an ambitious call comprising more than 40 topics with an unprecedented level of public funding of approximately 300 million euros, and this will be doubled by at least the same amount of private funding. We are addressing the whole value chain from production to end users in full synergy with other EU partnerships and national authorities. Time is of the essence, and we've worked very hard to publish the call as soon as possible. R&D will play a key role, and Call 2022 will play a key role. You are also all welcome to join Hydrogen Europe and Hydrogen Europe Research. More information about that will be presented at the end of this day. I want to wish you a very fruitful event, and we count on you to come forward with ambitious proposal. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you very much, René, for these kind words as well. And now I would like to hand over the word to Mirella. Mirella is my head of unit of operation and communication, and she will be the master of ceremony today and guide you through the entire day. She's doing a fantastic job with her team. I mean, without her, we would definitely not have such an ambitious program like it was published beginning of this month. So Mirella, the word is yours, and good luck for today.
Do you hear me now? Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much, Bart. Thank you very much, Chair, Vice Chair, Mrs. van der Vlis, Mr. Schutte, for your encouraging words. We could not do the work that we do with such a passion without your encouragement always. Yes, indeed, we have a heavy day in front of us. A heavy day, not by the content, but by the amount of the content, if you want. And we are very happy to be here today, to be able to present to you the first call 2022, of the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. Before we get into the details of the call, I would like to introduce you a bit to the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking and to the strategic research and innovation agenda, to our strategic plan for the next 7 to 10 years. Let me see if I could manage myself the slides. Probably not. Could you, next slide? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, for those that are not yet familiar with us and with the Clean Hydrogen Partnership or Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking, we have been established with a new Council regulation at the end of November, and in fact, the Clean Hydrogen JU has started running, building on the predecessors, Fuel Cell and Hydrogen Joint Undertaking 1 and 2, as of the 1st of December last year. We have received a new budget, 1 billion euro from Horizon Europe, from the new research and innovation program of the European Union, to be committed with calls until 2027 and implemented, of course, until 2031. So this is the lifespan of the Clean Hydrogen JU. The governance is the same for those that are used to our joint undertaking. So we have a governing board consisting of representatives of the 3 members, Commission, Hydrogen Europe and Hydrogen Europe Research, and 2 advisory bodies, the representatives of the member states representative group, and a new, if I can say, advisory body representing all the stakeholders of hydrogen. And you will see why we have such a new advisory body, because we need to work across the whole supply or value chain of hydrogen. We need to make sure that we get an interaction with the stakeholders from all the sectors that will help us to produce clean, renewable hydrogen, will help us to transport, to store hydrogen, and then ultimately to use the hydrogen to decarbonize the different sectors. On top of all this governance, we also need to collect independent opinion of the wider scientific community through a dedicated event, and for that we will organize every year during our stakeholder forum a scientific advisory workshop. You may have noticed, we have done that already last year during the Hydrogen Week. We will continue to do that. We will make sure that the entire wider scientific community will be involved in our program as we go. Now, let me get to the details. The research and innovation activities, I mentioned already, everything that we will do in the next 7 to 10 years, you can find in our SRIA document, Strategic Research and Innovation Multi-Annual Document. And you will see that our research and innovation activities are mainly split into three main areas. We call them sometimes pillars. The renewable hydrogen production, clean hydrogen production, the transmission, distribution, and storage of hydrogen, and ultimately the end uses technologies in the different sectors, such as transport, buildings, industry, including, of course, research and innovation on fuel cell burners, boilers, etc. If I can have the next slide. Thank you. As I said, we are a public-private partnership, an institutional public-private partnership, meaning we are autonomous, we are an independent body, an EU body, a partnership between, on the EU side, European Commission, and on the private side, Hydrogen Europe, an industrial association with more than 300 members, and Hydrogen Europe Research, representing the research community with more than 100 members. They have always sitted together as of 2008. I already mentioned we have a history of two predecessors. They have always put together their efforts to really push the hydrogen technologies, the research and innovation on hydrogen technologies into the market. And I think with this new Clean Hydrogen JU, we will keep the leadership of Europe, and we will push even further the performance of the technologies. Next slide, please. Okay, you may feel overwhelmed by the number of the objectives, but I have to say, with the third generation of the GU, of course, our ambition has increased. And you may have been used to the previous 5 objectives we had. Now we have even more objectives. And as you can see on the left side, when we talk about the general objectives, of course, we need to contribute to the Commission hydrogen strategy. We need to stimulate research and innovation on clean hydrogen production, distribution, storage, and use applications, while strengthening the competitiveness of the EU value chain, keeping investing and developing and keeping leadership of the EU companies, and contribute, of course, ultimately to the ambitious climate law by 2030-2050 of the EU. When we go specific, of course, how can we do that? Is by working on the technology to improve the cost effectiveness, the efficiency, the reliability, quantity, and even quality of the hydrogen solution, again, across the whole value chain, from the production to the use. We have to strengthen the knowledge and the capacity of both scientific and industrial actors, again, along the whole value chain, while supporting the uptake of skills. So we talk here developing the workforce, ultimately. We have to continue demonstrating solutions at local, regional, even union-wide scale, involving, if possible, all the member states, and again, across the entire value chain. And ultimately, in doing all this, we have to make sure that we increase the awareness of the public. We have to get to the public now that our technologies are getting close to all of us in our daily life. So we have to increase both the awareness and ultimately the acceptance by the public of these technologies. Next slide. Yeah. As I said, we build on a program legacy on previous 2 fuel cell and hydrogen FCH joint undertakings that have supported 287 projects for a little bit more than €1 billion. And as you can see, I'm not going to go into the detail, but the way we have supported these projects, we already have tried to address the performance and to improve the performance of the technology across the entire value chain. And you can see from the production side to the storage, end uses, transport, and clean heat and power, the valleys, and the cross-cutting. Of course, you may remember our program being distributed differently. We have to evolve. We have to already show how we build on this legacy when developing the next program. And you will see during the day how we have now, with the call 2022, gone the next step. Thank you. Next slide. Yeah, of course, the SRIA is built on the same pillars or areas. So from the left, production, distribution, storage, and use horizontal. One more click, please. And then, as you can see, the vast domain of the different activities that we will have to address across the value chain. On the production side, we will mainly focus on electrolysis, but we will also look at other routes of hydrogen production, renewable production, routes that currently are at lower TRL, but we need to look at them, we need to push the technology readiness level and to increase the performance of these technologies too. On the distribution and storage, in the past, we have done some activities with the previous fuel cell and hydrogen joint undertaking, FCSJU. We need now to move towards large-scale storage technologies, above ground and underground. We need to look at hydrogen into the natural gas grid, either admixtures, blending, or even pure hydrogen pipelines, or repurposing of the existing natural gas grid. We need to look at the different liquid hydrogen carriers for storage and transportation of hydrogen from point A to point B in bulk quantities. And in doing that, we need to now move looking at liquid hydrogen, for example, but even carriers such ammonia or liquid organic carriers. We need also to continue looking at compression, purification, metering, of course, associated with all the technologies that I mentioned before. And of course, ultimately, and linked to that, when talking about the end use in transportation, we need to continue working on improving the performance, decreasing the cost of hydrogen refilling station, and why not increasing the network of the refilling stations. When we talk about the end use, we will continue working here in the transport application on the fuel cells for transport applications, by continuing working on the building blocks, to develop the building blocks, the different fuel cell blocks, fuel cell stacks, fuel cell systems for the different applications, starting from then heavy duty, waterborne, rail, aeronautic. And on the stationary side, we will continue also working on the fuel cells as a stationary solutions, but also in addition to the fuel cells, we will work on turbines, boilers, burners, of course on hydrogen or on hydrogen admixtures. And then ultimately, as horizontal activities, we will continue working on cross-cutting issues. For those, again, used to our program, you know that what we mean by cross-cutting is all the support activities, horizontal or cross-cutting across the value chain from, for example, education, training, awareness, pre-normative research, standards, etc. So all these type of activities will be continued. We will continue developing the concept of the hydrogen valleys. This concept has been established by the joint undertaking. We will continue to show that this is one of the best tools to promote the technology, to demonstrate the technology into the field. We will have to continue working on the supply chain. We need to know our dependency. We need to know our strengths when developing the supply chain and the value chain in Europe. We need to keep our leadership in these technologies in Europe. And of course, in doing that, we also have to have some look and some investment into strategic research challenges, which will again reduce our dependency from different parts of the world when talking, for example, about raw materials or important materials for the different technologies we're developing. Next slide, please. I mentioned already the structure of the program. I mentioned also that in addition to that, we have, and in doing that, developing the technologies, we have to make sure that our efforts are impactful. In order to be impactful, we need to do many other activities in addition to the call or together with the call, together with our projects. And I have only mentioned a few here. For example, in working and in developing solutions for the end-use applications, we need to make sure, and I mentioned from the beginning the stakeholders group that we have to work with, but we need to make sure that we talk with all the sectors that are not only using hydrogen, but helping us to produce renewable hydrogen. And in doing that, we have to make sure that we talk with other partnerships, for example, in Horizon Europe. But we also have to make sure that when pushing the technologies into the market, we make sure that we can leverage additional funding or financing for the technologies. And in doing that, we have to make sure we talk to other programs. We have to make sure also that we provide the proper input into regulation, codes, and standards, that our pre-normative research activities, for example, provide the necessary need for developing new standards or improving existing standards. We need to address the safety, and for doing that, we will continue working with a safety panel. We will create, in addition, and you heard Mrs. van der Vlies this morning, we will have to now, when addressing a hydrogen economy, we have to make sure that we address the sustainability and circularity of this concept. And for doing that, we will create a panel of experts that will support the programs with sustainability and circularity. Of course, we will have to monitor everything we're doing, and we will have to report, and we will have to show, as we have always done, that our program and our activities are impactful. So we will continue to do an important amount of knowledge management activities. I mentioned already, we will have to keep the competitiveness of European industry, in particular the small and medium enterprises. We need, again, to collaborate internationally for a hydrogen economy beyond EU, while keeping the EU leadership. We need to collaborate with our partners internationally, and of course, in doing that, we will do a lot of communication activities. Next slide. The annual work plan of this year, I'm getting to the call now. Yes, it is extremely ambitious. You heard my director and our chair and vice chair of the governing board how ambitious we are. Indeed, it's the biggest call of the joint undertaking of the EU on research and innovation. It is a 300 million call. It has two deadlines. One is end of May, and the other one is towards end of September. The budget is not necessarily even distributed. More topics, and you will see with the presentations of today, more topics will have the deadline end of May, the first deadline, and some others, more important, flagship projects, and I will get in a minute to what that means, will be having a deadline in September. Next slide. Yes, again, you heard from our chair this morning. We have 41 topics, again, across the whole value chain, from renewable hydrogen production to the storage, hydrogen for transport, for heat and power, valleys, strategic research challenge, cross-cutting issues. You see already with the first call, we are trying to address all the issues across the value chain. Next slide. I will not take longer with my introduction, but just to mention the few novelties that we have in the call conditions this year that I would like you in particular to pay attention to. They may be addressed later by the different colleagues in their speeches, but I just wanted to draw your attention to that. So, for the first time, we have activated a clause in the model grant agreement on full capitalized cost for purchases of equipment, infrastructure, or other assets. So please pay attention that for mostly innovation actions, large-scale demonstrations, or flagship projects, a specific equipment, infrastructure, or other assets which has been identified in every such a topic has been allowed for you to be declared as purchased specifically for the action and exceptionally declared as full capitalized cost. So that's one novelty to keep in mind. For the two topics of hydrogen valleys, we have also activated, this is a novelty for Horizon Europe in general. It has been introduced in Horizon 2020 for those familiar with the program, but it has not been used extensively to the level of the program. And this time, we also activated this Seal of Excellence, which is awarded to applications on the valleys passing the evaluation, but that will not receive funding because of lack of budget from our side, but then they will have greater chances of being picked up and being funded by the regional funding or by the local funding. Next slide. This is not really a novelty, the two here. We have also used them in the previous program, Horizon 2020, and our FCH2JU. However, I just wanted to draw attention that we have activated them again. So we have in few topics an additional eligibility criterion to limit the clean hydrogen requested contribution. This is again for some innovation actions at high TRL level, where we expect to leverage co-funding as commitment from the different stakeholders. So of course, our funding is limited, while the project is expected to have a bigger budget. And we expected again that that will be contributed either by the private stakeholders, by in-kind contribution, or from other co-funding from regional or local sources. Another condition is the involvement of private members. Again, pay attention to some topics where additional eligibility criterion has been inserted, that at least one partner in the consortium is a member of either Hydrogen Europe or Hydrogen Europe Research. Again, this is again applied for large-scale demonstration, flagship projects, where again, we expect that having such a partner from our private members in the consortium will help the project in accelerating the commercialization of such technologies. Next slide. This is a novelty that you may have noticed already in our SRIA. Some innovation actions, we have flagged them as flagship projects. The flagship projects are expected to have significant impact in accelerating the transition to this hydrogen economy. These are projects of a large investment in general. In this call, there are 6 innovation actions, so not all the innovation actions are flagship projects. They are considered of strategic importance. You can see that they are a third of our budget, a third, only 6 being a third of the volume of the call. And in all these flagship projects, we will look for synergies with other programming instruments. And here, on the right side, I would like to draw your attention and to offer, if I can say that we, if necessary, transparently, openly, if necessary, could guide you further in ensuring such synergies. And we'll get to that when talking later. Next slide. This is exactly what I was mentioning, that, and on the right side, when we talk about the Call 2022 specific requirements, when talking about synergies, we have 2 topics, 2 flagship topics. The one on deployment demonstration of hydrogen trucks and the other one of inland vessels that are strongly recommending synergies or complementary funding for the refilling infrastructure from Connecting Europe facility. And here, we really need to make sure about the synchronization of the different applications. The different application, meaning the application to us for the vehicles, for the trucks and for the vessels, and the separate complementary application we strongly recommend for Connecting Europe facility. Could be for another sources of funding. But we believe, and we talk to our colleagues, and you will see the intervention just after me, that there is an opportunity that the infrastructure for our vehicles could be supported through the Connecting Europe Facility for Transport program. Another example of synergies where, again, we offer our support and our further guidance are the 2 flagship projects for Hydrogen Valley. In those one, again, if you look at them, you will see that our funding, our volume of investment, public funding, is substantially lower than the need for the ambition of the project. And there, we also strongly recommend synergies or complementary funding from regional or local sources, and plus, like I mentioned already, the seal of excellence. And in that respect, again, please get in contact with us, because as you can see on the left side down, whenever such synergies are foreseen, and in your application, in your proposal, you should reflect it in a financing structure and strategy describing the business model, including the different sources. You need to convince the evaluators, the experts, that such plan with such lower investment from our side, it's a viable business model, business case, and that there is not a lot of risk when investing into that by getting the different sources of funding. Next slide. Last, I believe, from my side, some horizontal type of recommendation in the different topics. You will see the requirement for innovation actions to have safety plans. So from the level of the proposal, we need already a preliminary draft of a hydrogen safety planning and management at project level. In that respect, with the help of our safety panel experts, we will also held in about a month and a half, towards the end of April, an additional webinar for applicants to teach and to guide them in developing such a preliminary draft of hydrogen safety planning. So please follow our website for our announcement, and please follow the webinar if you want to learn how to develop such a hydrogen safety plan for the project, which is required already at proposal level. On the Certify initiative is one of the initiatives we developed again during the predecessor FCH1, FCH2, and we have developed first the methodology for guarantees of origin and then the certification. And yes, we would like now to start using it, and in particular our project. So again, please pay attention that mostly in the innovation actions, where we will talk about demonstrating handling hydrogen, we would like that the guarantees of origin will be used to prove the renewable character of the hydrogen that is produced or used. Next slide. Finally, in international cooperation, we expect for some identified topics that we will contribute towards the activities of Mission Innovation 2.0 Clean Hydrogen Mission, where the European Commission is co-leading. So together with our private members, but also with the European Commission, we have agreed where and in which type of topics we open them for international cooperation. And in particular, one of the topics, the topic that you see there mentioned, the research and innovation cooperation with Africa, is opened this year for collaboration with Africa, and additional eligibility criteria have been introduced in that respect to encourage not only collaboration per se with Africa of the European partners, but also to encourage African partners to become part of the consortium. Next slide. Yeah, that's just a wrap-up. It's a summary. Many important words, I will say, or at least I consider them extremely important to keep in mind when preparing your application. Please keep in mind the EU competitiveness and industrial leadership that we want to develop with this call. Please look at the synergies, in particular for the topics I mentioned, the flagship topics. Please keep in mind that each project will have to contribute to the monitoring framework of the JU. We have to show with every single project how we created impact on the hydrogen economy. And with that, we expect each project to report annually into our trust database. Again, you will hear a presentation later about what that means. Guarantees of origin just mentioned, safety plans. For the PNR, pre-normative research, keep in mind and demonstrate how do you contribute with such activities and input into the existing or new standards. Contribution to sustainability and circularity. Any new product developed has to be sustainable, has to be recyclable. International cooperation. I mentioned also the few requirements on private members. Pay attention when you build your consortium. And of course, pay attention to the topics with limited contribution. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't take too much of your time. And I hope you find the presentation valuable. I'm looking for questions. I encourage you also to use Slido to put questions during all presentations. I will be here moderating the whole day, and without taking more time, we will take time for some questions. I would like to give the floor online to my colleague Richard Ferrer. I hope, Richard, you are online. Richard?
Yes, I am.
Okay, hello, good morning, Richard.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much for accepting to share with our applicants some knowledge about the funding opportunities in Connecting Europe facility, where we have strongly recommended our projects to look and seek complementary funding. Richard, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mirella. Well, it's a pleasure to be with you today. I mean, we have a long collaboration with FCHU, we used to, and very happy to keep on with Clean Hydrogen Partnership, Clean Hydrogen GU, for this new phase. And we are in contact with most of the members of working with you through projects. So I think it's indeed important to see what synergy can be found and complementarity between the programs. So next slide. Maybe to look at the past very quickly. I think it's interesting in the sense, I have an echo, but I don't know if it's okay for you. So it's interesting to see what has been done in the past. Basically, you see the number of projects, more or less 20 projects that have been financed. It's not a lot, but it's significant, in particular in the last years of this Connecting Europe Facility program. What is most important is to see that apart from the number of hydrogen stations, some of them with production capabilities like electrolyzers, we focused essentially on road. And you mentioned, Mirella, in the previous presentation, the flagships, the need to support trucks, vessels for maritime or inland waterway. So we'll see what we can do with that, in particular for the maritime and inland waterway sector. We have some projects that could be supported in the rail sector. Actually, we have one, it's mentioned 0%, but we have one tiny project already, but it's not enough probably. And we have projects that will come with the new fund on aviation, hopefully. But you see the focus was really on roads. So there is room for improvements and for targeting all the scope and means of transport that is actually the similar scope than the one that you have in your call for clean hydrogen. Next slide. Just one example, very simple, of collaboration and complementarity that we have done in the past. We have supported from both sides the Merlin project. Most of you know this project. It's targeting 7 hydrogen stations and the fleet of buses to operate them in several member states. We have combined the selection and synchronized the selection of this project from the safe part for the infrastructure, the implementation of the supply points of the hydrogen refueling stations, and from, at that time, the FCFGU with the CHI program for the buses. So there was a clear complementarity, and this was one of the elements of the selection to make sure that both the demand and the supply side were available, were developed, so that the entire project can run. So you see that the EU support was not only safe and jive, but it triggered, it had a catalytic effect on the national funds as well. I mean, in Germany, in France, Netherlands, and UK at that time, we had specific national programs that were used to complement the implementation of this project. And finally, but not the least, this involved a lot of public and private entities in terms of investment. So you can see that this allowed, in particular, to synchronize the procurement of both the infrastructure, the refueling stations, and the bus fleets. It has allowed to catalyze the investment of different partners. From our point of view, for the Connecting Europe facility, it has a much bigger network effect, ensuring a seamless trip along the TEN-T network. And of course, from the bus side, it allows scaling down the price for the operators, for the PTA or the PTOs. So this is an example. It's not the only one, but it's a clear example of how we could combine both the infrastructure scheme, support scheme, and the scheme for vehicles. Next slide. So this was for CEF. Now, in CEF 2, we have a specific facility which is called AFIF, which is the alternative fuel infrastructure facility. And regarding hydrogen, we have a priority, a topic which is on zero emission. And this priority supports the development of supply points for electricity and for hydrogen. Next slide. I insist on the fact that this is only for infrastructure. That's why there is a need for complementarity and synergy with the other programs, because we are not financing any more vehicles, unless for maritime short sea shipping and inland waterway transport. We see that. This is the budget that we have up to December 23 as a first phase. 1.2 billion for the general envelope, 375 million for the cohesion envelope. There is a specificity for this program, is that you need to present a project for applicants. Projects need to be financially supported by a financial institution. Financial institution is what we call implementing partners, maybe EIB or a national promotional bank, basically a bank which has signed an administrative agreement with DG Move, with the Commission, or it can be with a standard commercial bank, what we call the non-implementing partners. But it's important that together with the application, you have a letter of support from the bank, which says that the due diligence of your project has been done and that the board of the bank has decided on the principle to provide a loan or equity or semi-equity or guarantee. There are many possibilities. And we reserve, this is the objective, 2/3 of this envelope that you see here, 1.5 billion euro. We reserve 2/3 for projects that will be supported by implementing partners, and 1/3 of the envelope for projects supported by a standard commercial bank. Next slide. Very quickly, how it works: you're a project promoter, you go for a commercial bank or an institutional one, you get the financing approved, as I said, by the board, the due diligence done. It should represent at least 10% of the total project cost. You submit the application. I will come back on the deadline. You are evaluated. And if you are selected, then you will need to sign with the supporting financial institution. You will have to sign the agreement, the loan agreement, etc. And then only after you will sign the grant agreement with SINER. This will take more or less 8 months up to the signature of the financing agreement and 9 months up to the grant agreement. This is a bit the estimation at the moment. Next slide. So let's see what's in zero emission transport now, in particular hydrogen, of course. I want to underline immediately that we are financing only the infrastructure, as I mentioned previously, so the supply facilities. But in terms of synergy within the AFIF, we have the possibility to support the production of green hydrogen, which is based on renewable energy sources. And this is considered as a synergetic element, as we call it, and it may represent up to 20% of the total cost of the project. So it's important, I think, to see that not only the supply side is targeted, but at least part of the production side, as long as we talk still about green hydrogen. Next slide. So what are we targeting? What are our priorities under AFIF? First, still on hydrogen, of course, public transport, road public transport. You see the main criteria. I mean, we have more detailed in the context, of course, but basically we are targeting hydrogen refueling stations operating as 700 bars or 350 and 700 bars. And the location basically is the TEN-T road network. So it means that compared to previous case, it encompasses the core and the comprehensive network. We have a flexibility of 10 kilometers from this network in terms of location. And it may be located, of course, in urban nodes that are listed in our TEN-T regulation. Next slide. Still for road transport, we are targeting heavy duty and heavy duty and light duty vehicles, Again, same type of supply facilities and same type of eligible location on the TEN-T network. So again, public transport on one side, freight transport and light-duty vehicles, cars, etc. on the other side. Next slide. We are not forgetting, of course, inland and maritime ports, and this is where probably, again, there is a possibility of synergy with clean hydrogen GU. On road, of course, because we are not financing trucks, for example. So if there is a possibility to combine, we finance the infrastructure and you get financing for trucks, as mentioned by Mirella, under the program managed by Clean Hydrogen GU. But on zero emission inland and maritime ports, just be aware that we do finance port vehicles and we do finance equipment, as long as this is a comprehensive project, which includes, of course, the supply point, the stations, and the fleet which is necessary in terms of volume, in particular, to operate the infrastructure to make it viable at certain point. So this is, I think it's important to see that we can finance both. Again, in terms of location, it covers the entire TEN-T inland waterway and maritime ports area that are in our regulation. And you can see as well that, like mentioned, it was mentioned before, we are targeting as well ammonia as a possible fuel. Next slide. Finally, we have railways as a target. In particular, so still the same type of stations, but dedicated for railway sector. You see on which locations it's a bit more restrictive, of course, because CEF is financing railway infrastructure on the TEN-T network, in particular network which is electrified. So by definition, if a locomotive is running on hydrogen, it's on a non-electrified sector. So we have a more restricted eligible location, but you see that it's possible, and in particular, as I mentioned here, in terminals for refueling the shunting locomotives. Next slide. So you did not see previously aviation, because for the moment AFIF is targeting electricity for aviation, basically electrification of ground handling facilities on the tarmac, on the apron. There may be discussions in the future to support hydrogen for aviation, but this is not the case at the moment in the call, which is actually open up to December 23. So there may be changes again, but not at the moment. What is not eligible? I said it, vehicles are not eligible. This is where you can seek for a complementarity with other programs, except for inland waterway and short sea shipping in the maritime sector. Land acquisition, renting, permitting, project management cost, communication cost, operational cost, OPEX, are not eligible. And for the synergy with the production side, hydrogen production based on steam methane reforming is not eligible. As I mentioned it's only green hydrogen produced with renewable energy sources. And of course, we do not finance production facilities, even within the limit of 20%, if it's not to supply transport. We may accept that there is, at the beginning in particular, a certain share of the production which is not entirely dedicated to transport, but it has to be mainly produced for transport, the volumes of hydrogen. Next slide. Most important for you, the co-funding rates. You can see here, general call 30%, for the cohesion member states 50%. So this is applicable for all eligible elements that I mentioned before. And now maybe important to see how very quickly, in a nutshell, how it's allocated, this funding, how projects are selected. Next slide. So we are our evaluation is entirely internal, and it's based on award criteria, 5 award criteria: priority and urgency, which is basically the relevance to our policy, to the network, to the TEN-T network. The maturity of the project is a key element, knowing that we are financing projects that have to be implemented over 36 months. The catalytic effect, which extent the project will trigger investment, will involve private and public investment, the impact it may have on the network and in general on the society, on the environment, and the overall quality of the project. So we score these up to 5 points, and then we have a ranking and we select the project. Of course, you have some added values that we consider as plus in the project, the use of renewable energy sources for electricity, but as well the use of water, how this is tackled if there is any production component, an electrolyzer, and to which extent the project can be based as well on circular economy. All of these are not requirements, but of course it's an additional value when you present a project if one of those elements are part of the project. Now to finish the timetables and the deadlines, next slide. So you saw just before the deadlines and the call 22 for clean hydrogen, you saw that we have 2 deadlines for submission, which are, if I remember well, May and September 22. I think it's pretty well synchronized with our own cutoff dates, our own deadlines. You have an AFIF call which is open. I said it up to December 23. We will have 5 cutoff dates, so 5 deadlines to submit projects. It's a rolling call, and the next one is 7th of June. Third one is 10th of November. So it means that you can indeed apply for the vehicle part under the call managed by Clean Hydrogen in May and in September, and you can apply for the infrastructure, the supply infrastructure, and even part of the production with electrolyzers in June and in November with our program, AFIF program. So I think there is a pretty good synchronization, which would allow operators to cover basically a large part of the hydrogen value chain for the investments and projects that you want to implement. Voila, next slide. I have finished with that. I will be happy, of course, to reply to any questions, if any. But here, and I think it will be made available by the Clean Hydrogen, but here you have the links to have more information, more detailed information, in particular the link to the call info day that was done by the end of 21, where you will find all the recording of in video and documents giving more precisions and details and clarifications on this call, how to apply, etc., all the necessary details. And of course, you can ask a question on a FAQ section, and you will get quite quickly, within 1 or 2 weeks maximum, a reply. Voilà. Happy to reply to questions, if any.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Thank you very much for your presentation, Richard. No, you cannot. No. Okay, Tim. Yeah. Thank you very much. You can hear me now, I hope. Yeah, I'm not handling myself all the buttons, so I apologize for that. So thank you, Richard, again for joining us, and thank you for your very valuable information from the Connecting Europe Facilities calls. And to the audience, I just wanted to again show that we have done our best to synchronize our calls. We will do our best also to then make successful proposals. Thank you, Richard. I think we do not have any question for you or for your presentation, not even for me. And thank you again, Richard. So before we get into a break, we are a bit running out of time. We don't have sufficient time for break. Just to comment on few questions still that we received. More on organizational matters. So the agenda has been fixed on the website, so please have a look. If you still need it, it has been fixed. It was a bug over last night. The slides will be available, and we will also provide a recording. So as of tomorrow, you should be able to get access to the slide and to the recording. And again, I apologize for the hiccups and for you not being able to see the slides entirely. That should be possible now. And on the rest of the questions that we have received, we believe again that it was clear enough the participation or the requirement of Hydrogen Europe Research membership into our projects. Please have a look into the different topics. And when talking about the position, the Commission position on the 8th of March, and the nuclear use as a source for renewable hydrogen, this is not covered by our program. It doesn't mean that such routes should not be addressed, maybe. But our program only look at clean hydrogen, and as we know from the hydrogen strategy, clean means renewable hydrogen when talking about production. So I just wanted to clarify that. Please have a look again in our SRIA, Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda document on our website. This is very clear mentioned there, which is our coverage, and nuclear is out of scope of our program. So I hope I clarified. Thank you very much. Let's take a break. Unfortunately, we can only take a break of 5 minutes. And let's reconvene at 10:30 because we have many presentations. I hope you will have time for a coffee. So see you in 5 minutes.